Well, it was a first speech by a king for a king in over 70 years, a great historic occasion in our island story. And it was done properly, rather splendidly. The Lord Chancellor, the Lord High Chancellor, walked backwards, having taken the speech from His Majesty, a tradition that had gone into desuetude because the Lord Chancellor, Lord Hailsham, had two sticks, and the late Queen thought it was unfair to make him go backwards, even though I think he felt it was his duty to, and the tradition had faded out. So it's nice to see something returning to how it should be done and being done properly. But what about the speech itself? Well, there's some really good stuff in it, that growth through free trade is one of the real opportunities through deregulation and less expensive energy. These were all included in the speech. So the CPTPP, that's our deal with countries around the Pacific that will increase free trade with economies worth trillions and trillions of dollars, one of the biggest opportunities to lower barriers, and not just tariff barriers, but non-tariff barriers too. And free trade has always benefited consumers the most. It gets cheaper prices of goods. It's something we could never have done within the European Union, and it should help all of us become more prosperous. And I actually want us to go further and reduce tariffs unilaterally so that we give that advantage to you as consumers as soon as possible. And then the King mentioned the opportunity that we have now. We're outside the EU to deregulate. And that's not to make a Wild West. It's simply to make regulations proportionate and sensible so that, yes, they maintain safety, and we have a record of that going back into the 19th century of safety for goods and for products and so on, but ensuring that these aren't simply obstacles or protections for the inefficient incumbent company, things that will help the economy grow. One of the things that will make the economy grow most is if we have cheap energy. And it's fascinating, if we look at other countries around the world that have cheaper energy than us, how much better their economies have done. This is particularly true of the United States. So since 1990, the UK has reduced its emissions by 44.1%, the US by 2.6%, China has increased by 426%. So you could say we've done our bit, but the American economy has been much faster growing and recovered from COVID much more because it doesn't have, as we do, the third highest electricity prices in the world. And this is having an effect. British Steel is not going to be making blast furnace steel. Why? Because of crazy environmental policies that mean if you import the steel from China, it's Chinese emissions. If you make it domestically, it's your emissions. This is just really silly. One of the other things we've got to deal with is migration. Not the 50,000 coming over illegally, that's being dealt with. There are policies there. But the 600,000 net migrants we had last year, we are not succeeding in integrating that number of people. And integration is the other side of the coin of migration. There's one thing I don't agree with, I don't support the removal of warrants to allow the police to enter potentially your house. If you've just committed a crime, they are allowed to run after you. That's always been true, been true for a long time. But if they have found in collecting evidence that you may have something in your house, they have to go to a magistrate to get a warrant to go in. And this is one of our ancient liberties. You cannot be harried by the police, by the state, and you have an assumption of innocence unless there's at least some evidence against you. And this was put beautifully by Pitt the Elder in 1763, when he said, "The poorest man may in his cottage bid defiance to all the forces of the crown. It may be frail, its roof may shake, the wind may blow through it, the storm may enter, the rain may enter, but the King of England cannot enter." Unlimited power is apt to corrupt the minds of those who possess it.